You have you've had a very successful track record. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about your history and also the management philosophy? I believe you're involved with a group called the Mannix Resource Group. Could you just tell our viewers a little bit about your past, about the Mannix Resource Group, and then the question in my mind here as I talk to you is whether or not you're planning to be a producer or just strictly an exploration company?
Sure, I'd be happy to. By profession, I'm a lawyer, and I spent most of my career doing speculative securities work. Some time ago, I formed the Mannix Resource Group, and it was patterned after Prime Resource Group, which was a force here 15, 20 years ago, and Murray Pesum was around. I was his lawyer, and I ran that group. I've been involved in properties that have developed into 6 mines, and the concept of the Mannix Group is to put as much money into the ground as possible. So we've got about 40 people that work for us. We have offices in Reno and Vancouver and in Mexico. And any one of the companies can call on a pool of talented individuals as their projects go on. So that's a concept of it, and it works. And the idea is to explore on the west coast of North America from Mexico to Alaska. And some of the companies are geographically situated in various jurisdictions. Southern Silver that we're talking about today is developing properties in the Fa de Plata belt, the belt of silver, where there's a number of significant mines, the copper belt, and over in New Mexico, where it's we're hoping that there's a silver property with perhaps a copper porphyry at depth. So the idea of it is stay in the commodities that people want. Murray used to say some things like, if the public wants blue ties, don't try to sell them red ties. And that's a philosophy is with the prices of precious metals and copper at the present time. We take a property to where it's very attractive to a major, and then we'll either sell the company or we'll do a joint venture. I guess a good analog is we took Western Silver from 60-cent financing to where it was sold to Glamis Gold and ultimately to Gold Corp for $47 a share. That's what we'd like to do again, and I do not think we would ever gear up and have a mining group in our organization. There are people who specialize in that, and we're better off to take a property to them and let them take it than the next distance.
Do what your skill set is designed to do, in other words. And you have this Mannix group that is really then, as I understand it, sharing resources so that all these different groups, companies under this umbrella, can draw on those resources. That is at least technical resources, geologists, engineers, and the like.
And the back room,
where
which is becoming increasingly necessary, and corporate finance through non-brokered placements. In the last 13 years, we raised about $200 million, bit by bit by bit. But we have an expertise on that. We go to a lot of the shows, and I think we're very proactive towards our shareholders and our potential shareholders. So those are the skills that we bring as a turnkey package, as it were.
Sure. Let's say for people that might want to buy your shares right now, what do you think the biggest risks they may face?
Well, it's a speculative security, and a short while ago was 9 cents. It's traded as high as 37 cents. It's getting a following now, and some of the institutions are having a look at us. They like the silver story, but you know, people smarter than me says don't invest more than you can lose in a speculative security, but it's high risk and high rewards. And if people want to cut down the risk factor, I say it's a 3P principle: invest in the people, invest in the property, and the entry price of the shares. Southern Silver brings all of that to the crowd. It cuts down the risk. We've got 4 great properties. We're going to have good news flow. We disseminate that well. So you may make a lot of money, and you may break even. Who knows? But we're certainly spending the shareholders' money in the ground, which is where the success comes from.
Right. You know, there's hundreds of junior exploration companies out there. Why should people take a look at you as opposed to the other several hundred?
I think because of our track record and the fact that we've done it before, and the fact that we've got very motivated professional people in our group that work essentially for stock option appreciation, and their interests are aligned to the shareholders' interests. If they make a lot of money, the shareholders are going to make an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's worked for us before, and we're going to stick to that business plan.
Well, I certainly think that having shareholders' interest aligned with that of management is one of the most important things for investors to keep an eye on. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers before we conclude our discussion today?
Only to say that we think that the commodities we're looking for are going to appreciate in value. And I'm not an expert on the geopolitics of it all, but we're looking for the right metals in the right districts at the right time. We're funded well enough to continue to do that, and we have the ability to raise money. So if the drill stem is fortunate and looks after us well, then shareholders are going to make money, and management's going to make money.
You brought up the topic funding, and I meant to do that earlier, but how are you positioned right now with your cash resources, and how are you going to fund the various programs that you're planning to do?
In the last year, we've done 2 rounds of financing of units at 10 cents with a 20-cent strike price for the warrant. If all of the warrants are exercised, and they're starting to come in now, we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of $9 to $11 million. We expect that we won't be going back to the market this year for our financing, and we expect that the strike price of our shares will be sufficient to allow the exercise of those warrants. A lot of them are held in very good hands, some good institutions that follow us closely, and they're supportive. So that's certainly we're going to be able to fund on the 3 properties that we're funding the exploration program for this year, if the warrants are exercised.
Sure.
And we don't believe that they're not going to be.
Well, certainly you have an awful lot of kicks at the can, as they say, a lot of different properties, a lot of things going on. I wish you the best for 2011 and beyond. Thank you very much for taking your time to talk to our viewers today.
My pleasure.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
Righto.